If you're a man of faith, a true believer who reads the signs, then you already know America isn't just in a drought. We're in the beginning of a reckoning. Prophets spoke of this, and now NASA, of all people, is confirming. They're calling it a 100-year mega drought, worse than the Dust Bowl of the 1930s. But it didn't start yesterday. The past 6 years, that was just the beginning. And now it's spreading, drying up reservoirs, breaking the land, collapsing the systems we once trusted. The worst part, we're completely unprepared. Our way of life, turning on a faucet, trusting there will be water. It's being stripped away, one drop at a time. But long before the satellites and the headlines caught up, Scripture had another name for it: famine. The kind of famine that leaves rivers dry. The kind of famine that had Pharaoh begging Joseph in Egypt for help. And the kind of famine that always comes before something greater. Always a warning, always a call to the faithful to rise and act. But what I'm about to show you isn't named after that Joseph. Not after a king, not after a prophet. It's named after the carpenter, the protector of Mary, the man chosen to raise Christ, a man who listened when God spoke, who took his family to safety in the night, who built, who obeyed, who provided, even in the silence. What I'm about to show you isn't some government plan. It's not a FEMA ration pack. It's something simple, quiet, God-ordained, a humble invention forged in the deserts of Israel, built to bring water to the chosen, even when the earth turns to dust. And in just a moment, I'll show you exactly what it is, and how it may be the ark your family needs when the floods don't come as water, but as fire. Because right now, it's your turn. The second seal has been opened. War. And when he opened the second seal, another horse went out, and it was red. The world's on fire. There are wars and rumors of wars. Nations rising against nations. Israel under siege. China watching. Russia moving. The red horse rides. War has arrived. Famine is here. And thirst is coming. Hi. My name is John Gilmore, and what I'm about to share with you may be the most important blessing you receive this year, maybe even this decade. I'm not a preacher, I'm not a prophet, I'm a husband, a father, a man who believes in God's word and sees exactly what time it is. The Lord said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." Hosea 4:6. Well, what I'm about to share with you saved my life. It saved my family. And if you're wise enough to listen, it might save yours too. A simple God-sent invention that pulls fresh, drinkable water right out of the air, even in the dry heat of the desert. It's based on battlefield tech developed by the Israeli army. Not a gadget, not a gimmick. A real system that gives you up to 50 gallons of clean water a day from thin air, without ever needing to drill a single hole, like manna in the wilderness. 40,000 plus American believers and patriots have already brought one home. Because when the horsemen ride and the taps run dry, this won't just be a smart move, it will be an act of faith. And before you think, that sounds impossible, let me tell you what happened to me and why I believe God led me to it. As I said, my name is John Gilmore. I live on 5 acres of land in Arizona with my wife and my 14-year-old son. Built a house of my own hands. We grow our own food, raise chickens, dug our own well, and teach our son how to live free. We don't rely on the government, never have. We rely on God and the work of our hands. And not long ago, I was nearly killed in front of my home for water. Not for gold, not for gas. Water. The very thing God gave freely to Adam in Eden. The very thing Jesus used to baptize. The very thing Pharaoh tried to claim, but God struck Egypt with blood. I never thought I'd see the day, but I was there. Until a couple years ago, we had a good well. Not deep, maybe 90 feet, but it ran clear and cold. Every morning I'd pump out what we needed, filled the barrels, watered the garden. It was reliable. Until it wasn't. I started noticing the signs around midsummer. Pressure dropping, faucets sputtering. At first, I blamed the pump. Swapped it out. No change. Then one morning, I pulled the lever on our hand pump and nothing came out but a dusty cough. I remember just standing there, hand on the handle, sun rising behind me, thinking, this can't be happening. But it was. Thank the Lord we had some water stockpiled. just under 500 gallons between a few food-grade barrels and our rain catch. Enough to get by for a couple weeks, maybe a month if we were careful. I filed the paperwork to get a new well drilled. 5-month backlog. I figured we'd make it. Rational. Used it only for drinking and cooking. My wife even took to washing clothes with vinegar and gray water. We were adjusting, tightening the belt. Then came the night everything changed. It was 2:14 a.m. I remember because I looked at the clock before grabbing my boots. I'd heard metal outside, like the clank of a gas can being dropped. I slipped on jeans, grabbed my rifle, and stepped out onto the porch. It was pitch black except for the motion light above the coop. That's when I saw them. 2 men, one on lookout, the other loading our blue 15-gallon barrels into the back of a black Ram. They must have brought a dolly or something, but they weren't rushing. They were calm, focused, like they'd done it before. I froze. My first instinct was to yell, but before I could say a word, the one loaded the barrel looked up at me and said, real calm, "Sorry, pal, we're taking your water." And then I felt something slam into the back of my head like a sledge. A white flash. Then darkness. I woke up in the hospital with my head bandaged, vision still swimming. My wife held one hand, whispering prayers. My boy held the other, quiet, but trying to be strong. The deputies never found the men. They didn't take cash, didn't touch a single thing inside the house, just water. When I got home and walked into the shed and saw those barrels gone, that was the moment something shifted in my spirit. I realized this wasn't just about weather, not about climate, not politics, not broken systems. This was a shaking, the kind the Bible warns about. And we're not in peacetime anymore. We've entered a wilderness season. And it's not just physical, it's spiritual. Just like the Israelites wandering in the desert. Just like Elijah by the brook, waiting on ravens to feed him. This is a time of testing, a time when the faithful must prepare. And in this wilderness, only those who obey, listen, and act will be able to provide. As it says in Proverbs 6, verses 6 through 8, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest. The wise prepare before the famine hits, and the faithful act before the flood." I knew right then I had to find another way. I couldn't just stockpile and hope for the best. Couldn't count on re-drilling the well every time the water ran dry. I needed something different, something that could provide water on demand, without drawing attention, without relying on broken systems, and without putting my family at risk ever again. Something that could work here at home, or God forbid if we ever had to pack up and flee like Lot. Leave everything behind and run. So I prayed. I asked the Lord to give me wisdom, to lead me to something real, reliable, righteous. I spent all my life putting my father's survival knowledge to work. I know how to collect dew in a tarp, how to build a solar still, how to squeeze water from plants in the desert. But nothing on that scale was enough. Not for a family, not for a home, not for a life lived off-grid in obedience and preparation. So I reached out to a few old contacts, folks in the survival and off-grid community I've trusted for years. I told them what happened, told them I was done depending on broken wells and empty promises. And I asked one simple question: what's really going on out there? And is there any way to become fully water independent without dropping 10 grand on some overpriced corporate machine? What I discovered next, it didn't surprise me, but it still shook me to the core. Because it confirmed what I had feared the most. This wasn't just my well, this was everywhere. What I'd seen in my own backyard was just the tip of the spear. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States, has dropped to its lowest level since it was first filled in 1930. And it's not just one lake. Across California, entire bodies of water are drying up faster than they can refill. The land is being drained faster than it can heal. Farmers are fighting for scraps, cities are rationing. And if the drought tightens, like every model says it will, these lakes could vanish in as little as 3 years. But it doesn't stop at the U.S. Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world, has now hit its lowest level in over 80 years. And the Ogallala Aquifer, the underground lifeline for millions of homes and farms across the plains, is disappearing. Once it's gone, that's it. You don't refill the Ogallala. You just run dry. And we've seen what that looks like. Back in the 1930s during the Dust Bowl, the Ogallala hadn't even been discovered yet. No backup, just dust, famine, relocation, suffering, and now it's happening again. Only worse. Crops are dying, families are dehydrated, elderly folks are collapsing from heat strokes. And according to the UN and the New York Times, it's only just beginning. That's not a prediction. That's a warning. And for those who've read the word, we know what it means when the rain is withheld. It's never just about the weather. Then the Lord's anger will burn against you, and he will shut up the heavens so that it will not rain, and you will perish quickly from the good land the Lord is giving you. That's not just ancient prophecy. That's now. The wells are failing. The rivers are receding. It's not just drought. It's a message. I'd read the signs in Scripture, but now I was watching them unfold in real time, right in front of me. And it was exactly what I feared most. A land under judgment, and a nation completely unprepared. I knew what I had to do. I had to put my family first. Not just for survival, but for righteous provision. I couldn't rely on the government. I couldn't rely on the system. And after what happened, I couldn't even rely on the well. So I prayed. And the answer came through an old friend from church, a former military man who's been living off-grid for years. He told me about something few people know about. A quiet innovation developed by the Israeli military, designed for soldiers operating deep in the desert, where wells can't be dug and water can't be delivered. A device that pulls fresh, clean water out of thin air through condensation. No pipes, no infrastructure, no noise. God's design turned into something man could build. And the moment I heard about it, something stirred deep inside me, because it reminded me of Joseph the carpenter, not a warrior, not a preacher, but a builder. A man who listened when God warned him in a dream, and quietly took Mary and Jesus out of danger. A man who didn't hesitate, didn't question, just obeyed, and made sure the Son of God had water, shelter, and safety. That's the kind of man I want to be. And this is really built advice. It felt like something he would have used if he were here today. Simple, practical, obedient. The device uses God's design, pulling humidity from the air, filtering it clean, and giving up to 50 gallons of water a day. I thought to myself, this is it, until I saw the price. Turns out some greedy corporations got hold of the tech, and now they're charging $6,000, $8,000, even $10,000 for it. There was no way I could afford one, not at $6,000, $8,000, or $10,000. That might work for some Wall Street prepper with a bunker and a trust fund. But for a man like me, working the land, raising a family, it was out of reach. But I couldn't shake it. I knew this was the answer. And I thought to myself, maybe I can build one, reverse engineer the design and create a version of my own, because everything about it made sense. It pulled water straight from the air, not from a poisoned well or broken pipe. It ran quietly, it ran clean, and it worked both on-grid and completely off-grid, which meant I could plug it in at home, or take it with us if we ever had to leave. No smoke, no sound, no attention. Just a steady stream of fresh, God-given water, no matter where we were. A living spring, hidden in plain sight. And I thought, if this thing works for Israeli soldiers deep in the desert, it'll work here too. No matter how hot, no matter how dry, no matter how long the drought lasts. I didn't have thousands of dollars, but I had tools, I had some experience, and I had a reason. My family was counting on me. So I rolled up my sleeves and I got to work. I started sketching on a notepad out in the garage, drew everything I could remember from the articles and specs I'd found. I pulled apart an old dehumidifier, stripped out parts from a broken mini fridge, scavenged a few scraps from the barn. Anything I thought might help me pull moisture from the air and turn it into clean, usable water. I'm no engineer. I'm a father, a husband, a man who builds because he has to. And I'll be honest with you, the first few tries were a mess. I burned out wiring, I cracked a coil, I almost gave up, more than once. But every time I was ready to walk away, I thought of my wife filling buckets from our rain barrel. I thought of my son asking why we couldn't use the hose anymore. And I remembered Joseph, the carpenter, the man who didn't argue with God. He just got up and did what needed to be done. So I kept going. I called up an old buddy of mine who used to repair commercial coolers, showed him the schematics I was working on. He helped me straighten out a few key mistakes, tighten the filtration loop, get the condenser cycle right. Few days later, I had a prototype. Bare bones, nothing fancy, but it was ready. I plugged it in, waited, and after about 10 minutes, I heard it, that first soft drip into the collection tank. Water. Not from a faucet, not from a hose, from the air God placed all around us. Cold, clean, drinkable. I called my wife out to the garage, had her take the first sip. She smiled through tears. That's when I knew, this works. And if it worked for us, it could work for any family willing to build it. It wasn't the high-powered military-grade version I'd first read about. That thing could pump out up to 50 gallons a day, but it also came with a $10,000 price tag, industrial components, and maintenance I had no time or money for. What I built was something smaller, simpler, something a family man could actually afford. And even with that stripped-down design, it provides more than enough for drinking, cooking, washing, and light storage, day after day. And the best part? It cost me less than $150 to build. And to keep it running, less than 10 cents an hour. That's less electricity than it takes to run the toaster. And every drop that flows is one less gallon you have to buy, one less bill you owe the water company. Because provision isn't just about having more. It's about being wise with what you've been given. But the moment I saw that first gallon fill up, I didn't feel pride. I felt peace. Because I knew this was provision. And I knew the Lord wasn't just answering my prayer. He was showing me how to prepare for others too. But then I thought, why stop here? If I can pull water out of thin air, why should I pay anything for it at all? I knew going fully off-grid, house and everything would take a lot of money. Solar panels, wind turbines, full conversion kits. But powering just the air fountain? That felt within reach. So I reached out again to my off-grid friends, survivalists, tinkerers, patriots, believers, and I got back a flood of feedback. Simple ideas, smart wiring, small solar configurations that could work with what I already had. I took it to prayer, and then I got to work. A few weeks later, I flipped the switch, and the water started flowing fully powered by the sun. No noise, no wires, no bills. Just pure, God-given water powered by the heavens. The process wasn't easy. I made mistakes, burned through parts, spent more than a few nights in the garage frustrated praying for clarity. But after a few weeks of testing and a few rounds of trial and error, I finally simplified the entire build, got it down to just a handful of common materials, stuff you could find at your local hardware store or lying around in the garage. In fact, the off-grid version runs on nothing more than a basic car battery and a small solar panel. No special tools, no rare parts, no engineering degree required. Just basic components, clear instructions, and a willingness to follow through. And look, plugging it into the regular grid works just fine. You can run the system in your home just like any small appliance. But knowing that I could unplug it, carry it with us, and still have access to clean water wherever we go, that changed everything. Because this isn't just about today. It's about being ready for whatever comes next. Whether that's a long-term outage, a natural disaster, or God forbid, a time when we're forced to leave home and walk into the unknown, like Lot fleeing Sodom, like Joseph escaping into Egypt, or like the days when the horsemen begin to ride. War, famine, death. Not metaphorical, real, present, now. This system was built to move when we move, to give when everything else is taken, to sustain when the world begins to shake. And once I had it working, once I knew it was reliable, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. Once I saw it produce clean water day after day without fail, word started to spread. First, it was my neighbor down the road. His well had been sputtering for months. Then a buddy from church asked if I could help set up one for his folks. Before long, I had people calling, texting, stopping by after Sunday service, all asking the same question. Can you show me how to build it too? One evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, blueprint pages spread out beside my coffee. That's when my wife looked at me and said, "Honey, maybe this is your ministry. You've built something that could save lives. So why not put together a detailed set of plans, a guide, video instructions, blueprints, so other families can prepare the way Joseph did?" And she was right. This wasn't just something God had given me. This was something He wanted me to share. So I got to work again. I wrote everything down, step by step, the exact materials I used, where I found them, how I wired the power. Then I filmed the entire process so anyone could follow along, no guesswork. I mapped out the blueprints, I laid out the schematics, and I made sure the whole thing was clear, simple, and built for real people, not engineers. Because whether you're a rancher in Arizona, a retired couple in Georgia, or a pastor with a young family just trying to keep them safe, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need special skills. If you can follow instructions and operate a screwdriver, you can build this system. Because in a time like this, when the seals are opening, when the rivers are drying, and when evil men are willing to kill for a bucket of water, we need more builders, men like Joseph, quiet, faithful, prepared, and ready to act before the next horseman rides. That's why I call it Joseph's Well. Not just because it gives you water in a dry time, not just because it protects your family when the systems fail, but because it was built in the spirit of the man who protected Christ himself, Joseph the carpenter, a man who didn't speak much in Scripture but acted when God spoke. A builder, a provider, a righteous man who moved his family before the danger came and made sure the Son of God never went thirsty. That's the heart behind the system. And now, by the grace of God, I've packaged the entire thing into a simple step-by-step program that anyone can follow, even if you've never built anything in your life. I designed it so faithful families, people like you and me, could provide fresh, clean water for their household without spending $10,000 on some bloated corporate machine. Because when I finished my research on this system, I knew what I had found wasn't just useful, it was a blessing. The benefits are nothing short of God-ordained. This system taps into a virtually unlimited source of water, moisture from the air God placed above every one of us, even in the dry deserts of Israel. It draws it in, filters it clean, and delivers safe, healthy, crystal-clear drinking water from the atmosphere itself. It's like uncovering a hidden well the world forgot. And with my guide, you'll learn exactly how to build it yourself for under $150. It requires almost no maintenance. Just place the system outside or even indoors, flip it on, and within minutes, water begins to flow. And there's more. This setup gives you something that's even harder to find in a crisis: time. While others are running from store to store, desperate to fill bathtubs or buckets, you'll have water flowing quietly, faithfully, in the background. Time to protect your family, time to pray, time to focus on the people you love and the mission God gave you. You may even find yourself helping neighbors, teaching others, becoming the kind of man your church and your community look to when the storms come. As it says in Isaiah 41:17-18, "The poor and needy search for water, but there is none. But I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will make rivers flow on barren heights and springs within the valleys." That's what Joseph's Well is, a spring in the valley, a quiet provision from the Lord for those who listen. More and more faithful families across the country are already using this system and experiencing the peace that comes from knowing they're no longer at the mercy of the grid.
I built Joseph's Well for my family just 2 days after watching John's guide. I'm no handyman, but the instructions were so clear, even my teenage son helped me with the wiring. Now, every morning I walk out back, flip the switch, and we've got water. No bills, no fear, just peace. This system changed the way I look at provision.
Adam B., Missouri.
I'll be honest, I didn't expect much. I've seen a lot of survival miracles that just waste your time and money, but when I tested this system out, it actually worked. Water from the air, cold, clean, quiet. I haven't bought bottled water in over a month, and now that I've got it running on solar, I feel like I've been set free. Thank you, John, for building this, and thank God for giving you the wisdom to share it.
These families stepped forward in faith, and now they're walking in peace. And now, by God's grace, you can join them. So let's talk about what it takes to access Joseph's Well for yourself. Now, if I were thinking like the corporations do, I could easily charge hundreds, maybe even thousands, for what's inside the Joseph's Well system. And truthfully, it would still be worth it, because we're not just talking about information. We're talking about the ability to protect your family's most sacred need, the God-given gift of water. But I didn't build this to make a profit. I built it to serve. But the truth is, it does take time. It takes server costs, video hosting, printing, tools, and the support I offer one-on-one to every person who reaches out. So all I ask is a small contribution, just enough to keep the mission going and to make sure that this stays in the hands of faithful folks who are serious about preparing. So instead of charging what it's worth, I've made the Joseph's Well system available today for just a one-time contribution of $67. That's it. Less than the cost of a single emergency water barrel, and a fraction of what you'd spend on filters, bottled water, or overpriced machines that may never arrive. And sometimes, we also print a limited run of hard copies for those who want something physical, to keep on hand if the grid goes down, or toss in a go bag just in case. They go fast, and we never guarantee when more will be available. So if you see the hard copy option below, you can add it to your order for a small shipping charge before we run out again. Your one-time contribution helps me keep this mission alive, cover hosting, support, and make sure this knowledge stays in the hands of believers who are serious about preparing. And most importantly, it puts a working water system in your home, one that could mean the difference between fear and faith, drought and provision when the next seal is opened. And if you're still wondering whether this is real, or if this man behind the mission is someone you can trust,
I've known John from our church for over 15 years. He's a quiet man, but when he speaks, it's because he's prayed first. When he told me about this system, I knew it wasn't just another prepper idea. It was something the Lord had led him to build. I followed his guide and built one behind my workshop. It works. But more than that, it gives me a sense of purpose, to protect and to provide. If you're wondering whether this is right for you, I'd say this: if John Gilmore built it, you can trust it.
Deacon Mark C., Arizona. And just like Deacon Mark said, if I built it, you can trust it. And because I know what it's like to wonder if something will actually work, I want to remove every bit of doubt from your shoulders. My 100% peace of mind guarantee. Try the Joseph's Well system for 60 days. Follow the steps. Watch the videos. Build it at your own pace. If you're not satisfied, if it doesn't produce water the way I've shown, or even if you just decide it's not the right time, just send me an email. I'll refund every penny. No hassle, no questions asked. Because I'm not here to pressure anyone. I'm here to equip those who are called to prepare. So when you access the Joseph's Well system, you'll receive a full A to Z blueprint, a simple step-by-step video guide that takes you by the hand and shows you exactly how to build your own personal water generator from start to finish. Whether you're in the city, the suburbs, or out in the hills, you will have this up and running by the end of the day. I've done everything I can to make this guide as clear, complete, and beginner-friendly as possible, but I also know that questions come up. That's why when you get the system today, you'll also receive unlimited email access to me personally. Ask anything, whether it's troubleshooting your build, sourcing parts, or adjusting it for your region's climate. I'll be there to help you walk through it. And believe it or not, that's not all. If you get the Joseph's Well step-by-step guide today, you'll also receive 3 exclusive bonus guides, each one designed to help you take your water security even further, so that no matter what's coming, your family is covered. Bonus number 1, how to secure your water reserves. Even though Joseph's Well gives you a fresh supply daily, it's wise, biblically wise, to store up. Just like Joseph in Egypt stockpiled grain before the famine, this guy shows you exactly how to store and preserve the water you generate, which containers to use, how to rotate supply, and how to protect it from contamination. Whether you're storing for 7 days or 7 months, this is a must-have plan. Bonus number 2, how to purify and mineralize water. Clean water is only the beginning. This powerful manual teaches you how to purify any source, tap, rain, stream, or emergency backup. You'll discover simple, affordable techniques for filtration, solar disinfection, boiling, and even how to remineralize water naturally to keep it healthy and life-giving. It's everything you need to ensure your family drinks pure, living water without relying on expensive filters. Bonus number 3, the deadly agents hidden in your water. You'll be shocked to learn what's really in the average American's tap water. This report exposes the harmful chemicals, pharmaceuticals, bacteria, and spiritual toxins that are flowing through modern plumbing systems. Once you see what's in there, you'll never trust the faucet again. More importantly, you'll know how to protect your household against these hidden dangers. Each of these guides is yours, free, when you claim the Joseph's Well system today. If sold separately, they'd be worth $49 a piece, but today, you're getting all of them for free, because this isn't just a product, it's a mission. I spent over a year researching, testing, and perfecting this system so that anyone, no matter their income or skill level, could follow the clear, biblical path to water independence. And I want to make sure you have every tool you need to stay safe and protected as the world enters its shaking. Look, I don't know how much longer we have before the next horseman rides. We've already seen war, famine is here, and now we're staring straight down the barrel of thirst. They say it won't get better, and when the rain is withheld, when the rivers are dry and the systems collapse, the ones who prepared will be the ones who provide, not just for their families, but for their neighbors, their churches, the remnant. That's what I believe this system is for, not to build a bunker and hide, but to be a well in the wilderness. That's why I spend over a year documenting this process, filming every step, testing every method, and putting it into a guide that's clear enough for anyone to follow. Because I don't believe we're supposed to just survive this. I believe we're called to stand. When I first started looking at commercial systems like this, they were charging $6,000 to $10,000 for something far more complicated than it needed to be. And even if you could afford one of those commercial machines, good luck getting it delivered during a supply chain shutdown, grid collapse, or national emergency. That's why I created something different, something simpler, something you can build with your own hands at a fraction of the cost. And when you get access to the Joseph's Well system today, you won't pay anything close to what those corporations are charging. Because this isn't just a video, and it's not just a set of instructions. You're receiving everything I've built, tested, and prayed over for more than a year. A complete solution for providing fresh, God-given water to your family, no matter what's coming. Here's what you'll receive. A complete step-by-step video guide showing you how to build the same water system I use to provide for my family. Printable blueprints and schematics so you can see exactly how the system fits together at a glance. A full materials list, including links and sources you can use no matter where you live. Instructions for both on-grid and off-grid power with the exact solar setup I personally use. Unlimited email access to me, so if you ever need help, I'll be there to guide you. And 3 detailed bonus guides: how to secure your water reserves, how to purify and mineralize water, the deadly agents hidden in your water. You'll have everything you need to build Joseph's Well for your home and prepare your family for whatever's coming. So if your heart's stirred, if you feel that nudge, that knowing that now is the time to act, then I invite you to join the thousands of families who are already building their Joseph's Well and take this next step of obedience, protection, and provision. Click the button below to get instant access to the full Joseph's Well system, and you can start building today. Because tomorrow might be too late. The ones who prepare now will be the ones who provide when the time comes. And before you decide, I want you to picture this. It's a month from now. The world's gotten more unstable. The news is full of fear. Stores are rationing water, or worse, they're empty. But in your home, you walk out to your system, flip a switch, and within minutes, the water starts to flow. No panic, no begging, no wondering where your next gallon will come from. Just quiet provision. Your wife looks at you differently. Your children know they're safe. Your neighbors, maybe even your church, start asking what you did and how. And you'll know the answer. You listen.